Hey, let's start without an intro, and this video will be targeted to anyone that wants to get better playing in Siege, from the new players that just barely knew the map layout, all the way to people that play the competitive side. Let's talk about the fundamentals on defense, and the very first thing, and the most important thing, is the mentality behind defense. It's extremely important to have the right mentality just because then the mini checklists that you want to do during the round will be different if you have wrong ideas. So let's say that your idea behind defense is to waste time, or to get kills, or to waste utility. This is all not great, because if you have the idea of wasting time, then you will do everything about the round just to waste the time. Whereas if you have the mentality of denying map control, denying map control implicates wasting time. Denying map control implicates wasting utility, and denying map control implicates getting kills. It's very important to have this idea because if your main idea behind defend is going to be wasting time, then the issue will be you will have different checklists, and then actually some checklists will actually hurt you. In some maps, you simply cannot waste enough time. Sometimes you'll be playing off the retake, sometimes you'll be playing off flanks, sometimes you'll basically simply turtle and you won't be wasting as much time. And the similar thing can be applied for any other goals that I have mentioned are not so good. So the correct mentality behind defense should be to deny map control as long as you can, and depending on the situation, you either fall back, you play aggressive, or you do something in between. Another huge thing for the defense is picking quote-unquote correct operators. And immediately, there is more than 60 operators in Siege, and luckily or not, most of them are good operators. But what I wanted to mention with this is, you need to know the situationally good, or better said, in situationally broken operators, because some operators will be just simply extremely good on some specific objectives, whereas on the other objectives might not be as best. For example, Clash can be extremely good operator to play on some maps such as Oregon or such as Villa, whereas Clash might not be as powerful on the other maps. I'm not saying that Clash is not going to be good on the other maps. Clash can be good on every single map if you play it right, but there are just some situations where Clash is simply annoying to deal against or extremely powerful on some particular objectives, whereas on the other objectives she's just good operator. Hope this makes sense. And the next topic that we are going to be talking about is something similar to, for example, Clash, is playing around the utility and the adapt. Let's see the clip that I'm going to show you right now. Smoke was behind the Clash, but the thing is, Smoke didn't even care about the Sledge around the ethics side, because if Sledge pushes Clash, Smoke can very easily pre-fire him. So what Smoke was doing is, he was playing around the utility, which in this situation was Clash, so he doesn't care what Sledge is doing. As long as his Clash is there, his back is covered, or his front is covered. So if Sledge pushes Clash, Clash backs out to one of the corners, then Sledge needs to worry about two angles at the same time, that's impossible. So Sledge also knows that he cannot be doing anything. What will happen in ranked and all the way to champion is, Smoke will try to go for the kill for the Sledge. Let's assume that that happens. Sledge was ready for that play. And if Smoke gets killed, that means Clash is alone, that means also Clash gets killed. But on some more basic aspects, let's assume that there is a barbed wire over here, or a proximity alarm, or a torn gadget, or a walkie camera, and you have a dead teammate. There is no reason to be watching this angle, because that's being covered by the sound cue, which we all know that in Siege is great. Just joking, but let's say that it works for the majority of the time. So it's very important to play around utility. Utility will deny the angles for you. And when it comes to the adaptation, it's very important to be checking the outside cameras as quicker as possible, because that way you'll be able to readjust your ADSs, deployable shields, and anything else that you can readjust. So keep that in mind, like it's very important to be adapting per the round or even per the situation. Last thing for the defense, what you're going to be talking about is clock being your best friend. And let me tell you immediately that this is a common misconception. Clock is your best friend in most situations. It's very important to highlight in most situations. Sometimes you cannot play just based on the time, because in this situation they could go for the plant, they could be pushing you, they could be holding the angle, and you don't know. And the moment you want to start push them, you don't know if they were on either of these 3 or 4 positions. So let's say that you wanted to push, but they actually faked it out, they start to push you and they killed you. So sometimes it's better to play off the position, not off the time, and to go for them. So it's very important again to keep in mind the correct mentality behind the defense. Clock is your best friend for most situations, not always. If you want to talk more in depth about these situations, watch reviews, how to IGL, how to use the drones and so on, I do coaching on the MetaFi. More info in the comments down below. Let's talk about the attack. It's very important to know how to defend when you're attacking, because how the hell are you going to be attacking something that you don't know what you're expecting? You're going to be wasting 30, 40 or even a full minute to just see what's happening in the map, and then you will have 2 minutes to do what you're supposed to be doing in 3 minutes. And how is that even possible? Like, how is that even consistent? You can't do something in 2 minutes if a lot of teams, even in the Pro League, have issues to do in the 3 minutes. Like, if you manage to do that consistently, then I don't know what you're waiting for, but go to the Pro League. So it's very important as a first step of attacking is to know how to defend. And this is the main issue why attacking is a lot of harder than defense. As much as anyone will tell you, especially in ranked, defense is usually a lot of easier to be done. Sure, there is some preferences, and maybe now you're in the commentary going to be putting how you have easier time on defense, but that's usually the case because people in ranked simply don't know how to play the game properly. And let me tell you immediately an example, there's a lot of YouTubers, champions that simply don't know how to, for example, set up Oregon, which is the most played map. So usually if you have easier time attacking, that usually just say thanks to these YouTubers that don't know what they are talking about. On the next topic, we are going to be talking necessary operators. The operators that are necessary is something similar to the correct operators on defense. The necessary operators are basically the operators that are, well, necessary to bring to win the round. Or basically, otherwise you will have to brute force yourself in through 1 door or maybe 2 doors at most. So for example, aside from the hard breaches, which are the most obvious case, let's go to, for example, bank, basement side. It's extremely important to keep in mind if defenders are holding heavily servers or if they are heavily roaming. Lately, even in like Pro League, there's just maybe 1 guy playing in the objective, sometimes even 0. So usually in the Pro League there will be like 4 to even 5 roamers on the top, which is totally fine because you have hatches open, you can immediately drop down the hatch and you can, from as a roamish perspective, you can deny the plant. However, let's say that they are doing the server's utility hold, which is more often done in the rank, because again, in rank people don't use too much utility for the roamers, so that's going to be a lot of easier to roam hunt, which we'll talk about in the another video later on. Again, let's assume that there's a server hold. So this is where the necessary operators will be coming. So either floors, either ying, so basically something to brute force, but either operators that will bring you flashes and the frag grenade. So for example, you can be bringing, again, floors brings flashes, but for example someone else with the flashbangs and a frag grenade that you can deal with this server utility. Because otherwise, what will happen is, let's say that you have just a frag grenade or 2 sets of the frag grenades, the server hold will just eat your frag grenades. And what will happen is you will have to go for the gunfights against an angle that you're not supposed to be winning in majority of the situations. Obviously, if you're going to be Bolo or Shaiko or Citizen, you'll be winning them, but in majority of the situations, you won't be winning them. When it comes to attack, it's also very important to play around the utility. So this is now something similar on defense, but over here it's even more important, because on the attack, you're the one that is supposed to be doing the first aggression, because you're a taker. So if you're going to be using concussions from the Zofia, or flashes, let's say you want to deal with the generator guy, and your team is not doing anything, then basically you're just wasting them. But if you're going to be flashing the generator guy, or concussing him out, then what you need to be doing is you need to be doing some kind of push. Either from the dirt, blue and stock drop push, or the push that I like more is church push, because It's extremely hard to knight the generator guy, but the thing is you can concuss them for maybe 2 to 3 seconds as you're pushing the church triple walls. The moment you get church control, it's going to be super easy to deny the generator guy. And last but not least, for the attack, observation tools. Observation tools are basically drones and maybe zero cameras and maybe any other future Intel operator, but the idea behind the drones is extremely important. We are going to be talking about preparation phase drones in another video, which is going to be more advanced, but preparation phase drones are supposed to be put in the building, at least 3 of them, or around the building, so you can see what's happening in the building. A lot of the people will tell you to keep them outside, in your pocket, but that's a waste of preparation phase, especially when it comes to the higher elo, like Diamond 2 and higher. You need to know what you're dealing against during the preparation phase. The whole round consists of preparation phase, action phase. Do not think them as preparation phase, action phase, think about them as together. So one round has 3 minutes 45 seconds, not 3 minutes of action phase. Alright? So preparation phase is extremely important, preparation phase drones are extremely important to be put in the building, and that's why some pro teams, like even in the major finals, like Berlin major finals, FaZe did not reinforce 3 walls just for them to be hunting the drones. We'll talk more about hunting the drones later on in the another video, but the thing is, you need to be using the drones in the building, just because that's going to give you a lot of information and other stuff that we'll be talking about. And as I mentioned, if you want to step your game, I do coaching on MetaFi. I have had students that went from Gold 2, 700 matches, all the way to Diamond 3 with 700 matches, and most likely will end up to the champion eventually. And I had several students from solo queue all the way to the 5 stack going all the way to champion, as well as I have a student that is currently participating in the Challenger League, probably soon to the Pro League. So don't miss that opportunity.